Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Ahlan Jana. Today we will complete the chemistry. We start some points in the previous lesson. Today we will complete the other point. What is the symbol of magnesium?
Mr. Magnesium makes chlorophyll. Can you hear me?
No. I don't ask about the functions of magnesium in photosynthesis process, but I ask about the symbol of magnesium. Chemistry.
Mg.
Mg, great. What is the symbol of aluminium?
Aluminium. So I don't remember aluminium.
Aluminium, Al.
Al.
Okay. What is the trend of physical properties of group elements in group 1? I talk about the melting point, for example.
Miss, I'm sorry, repeat your question again.
What is the trend of the physical properties, especially melting and boiling points in group 1?
They have low melting points. They have low melting and boiling points.
In general, low melting point type. I ask about the trend. When you go from up to down during this group number 1, what happened to the value of boiling points or melting point?
As you go down the group, the boiling point, as you go down the group, the boiling point decreases.
Okay. What about melting point?
As you go down the group, the melting point,
the same. Melting point and boiling point, when you go from up to down during the group number 1, the values of these points decreases. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
In general, what about the density of the elements in group number 1?
Miss, can you repeat again?
I ask about the nature of the density compared with other elements. Density
they have high densities.
High density? Group number 1, high density?
Yeah, they have high densities.
High or low density?
Yes.
When you compare between the densities between the group 1 elements and the other elements in such as in transition elements, you will observe the density of the elements in group 1 is low, relatively low compared with the density of the transition element. We said that before. When you say the density of the element in group 1 is low, this is compared with other elements like transition elements. Don't forget this, okay? Okay. Please try to answer these questions on this group 1 element. In this table, this is elements like lithium, sodium, potassium, and rubidium. And he asks you some questions about these elements. Well, like, there is a trend in melting and boiling point of this element. Use that trend to predict the following. Predict the melting point of sodium from this table. When you look at that trend, you can conclude the value of the melting point of sodium. Suggest, predict.
the melting point of sodium
Yeah.
is lower than 883.
Okay. Give number. Like what?
Just like any number?
Any number. Less than
Okay.
180 and greater than 63.
Okay, 92.
Okay. Great. Great. Type. What about the boiling point of potassium?
Potassium, 688. Miss 731.
Great, excellent, excellent, great. C, the elements all react with water to produce gas. Name this gas. What happens when the elements in group 1 react with water? It will produce,
Miss, repeat again.
Okay, let this, we'll return to this question, okay? But now we will complete the all activity, chemical properties of the metals in group 1. What happens when these metals react with oxygen? The metal in group 1 of periodic table are soft than other metals. They are also more reactive than other metals. They must be stored under oil. We say that before when we say the sodium and potassium stored under the kerosene liquid, okay? They react vigorously with the moisture in the air and they can explode. If the examiner asks you why we stored the elements from group 1 under the oil, you will answer with because they react vigorously with the moisture in the air and they can explode. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. When a piece of lithium, sodium, or potassium are taken out from their containers, they appear dull, not shiny. When the pieces are cut, okay, the surface is shiny. The shiny surface soon becomes dull because what happened? When this piece of lithium or sodium or potassium fresh cut, it appears shiny. But after few seconds, it will change into dull appearance. Dull appearance, it is the opposite of shiny. Dull means بدون لمعان. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Why? What happened to this surface? Do you know what happened?
Yeah. Yes.
What happened?
It's because of the oxygen in the air, it reacted.
The oxygen in the air react chemically. This means that the chemical reaction is occur command between the metal like lithium, sodium, or potassium react with oxygen, okay, to produce metal oxide. And the metal oxide is dull. The layer which cover the surface of the metal, in this case, is the metal oxide.
Okay, I want to tell you, Miss, today we had a chemistry lesson in school and we finished the topic methods of making salts. Okay,
which talk about the word and the symbolic equation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's very simple, by the way. And we make a different exercise in the previous lesson, and we will complete this exercise today, inshallah. Okay. Sure. In general, the word equation which describe this reaction between metals in group 1 and the oxygen, like this word equation: metal plus oxygen give metal oxide. For example, when the potassium react with oxygen, it will give
metal oxide.
potassium oxide. Potassium oxide. Okay?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Great. What about the reaction of group 1 metals with water? In general, when these metals react with water, it will give metal hydroxide and the hydrogen gas evolved. Hydrogen gas evolved. يبقى if the examiner asks you, what is the name of gas, which product or produced from the reaction between metal and water, you will respond by hydrogen gas. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. But the difference between these three elements, between sodium, lithium, and potassium, is the appearance of the strength of this reaction. For example, when the lithium reacts with water to produce lithium hydroxide and hydrogen, is less in its strength than reaction of potassium and the sodium with water. Okay? Why? Yeah. When the potassium react or sodium react with water, it will the fire will shut. هيحصل فيه ويحصل فينا هنا fizzy fire. يبقى فيه هنا عندي fire ويبقى فيه عندي يعني like small explosion. Okay? So
that happens in lithium.
What?
That the fizzing up of the water and bubbles and that gas coming out, it happens in lithium when it reacts with water, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
But the strength of the reaction, it is very clear. Okay. A vigorously reaction in the case of reaction with oxygen with sodium, potassium and the sodium with a water. Okay. Right. When we write the word equation of the reaction between magnesium and the sodium to give all metals in group 1 with water give metal hydroxide plus hydrogen. Can you write the simple equation for this reaction?
Yeah.
Mention this equation in simple. Potassium plus water give potassium hydroxide plus hydrogen.
Yeah. Miss, and then I do the same thing here.
What do you say?
Miss, repeat what you want me to do.
Write the simple equation to describe this reaction between potassium or sodium plus water.
Potassium. This you mean like potassium, like two separate equations? Oh, okay. The potassium plus water.
Symbol of potassium what? I need simple equation.
K.
Potassium.
K.
Symbol K.
It's K.
K. Plus water.
H2O.
H2O. Give potassium hydroxide.
Potassium hydroxide, K. And then I think H2O.
I think what?
H2O, because I don't know hydroxide in symbol.
Hydroxide, okay. Jana, hydroxide group is OH, OH. So when I wanted to write chemical formula for potassium hydroxide, you will write KOH, KOH, okay? In some in other elements, when we wanted to write elements or metal hydroxide, maybe write like in when the magnesium react with water give magnesium hydroxide, it's a chemical formula MgOH pi 2. Why? Because the valency of magnesium divalent and the valency of OH is monovalent. And when you try to write the chemical formula, you will make exchange يعني بنبدلهم تمام. يبقى Mg take valency 1 or monovalent. OH take the valency of magnesium, so that the chemical formula of magnesium hydroxide, MgOH. But in this case, in this case, the valency of potassium is 1 or monovalent.
Okay.
Okay, so and the valency of hydroxide group, hydroxide atomic group OH, valency 1, so that we write KOH. KOH plus
hydrogen H.
H only or H2?
H2.
Why we write hydrogen as a diamolecule at diatomic molecule H2?
Okay.
Okay. In general, all gases like active gases, I mean active gases, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, all of these gases, when we write hydrogen, oxygen, or nitrogen in symbolic equation or chemical equation, this element is written in diatomic molecule formula. Diatomic molecule means this atom is found by 2 hydrogen atoms combined with each other, 2, like in oxygen, O2, like in nitrogen, O2. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Can you write the equation for reaction with sodium with the water? Simple equation.
Okay. Sodium Na.
Great. Plus
H2O.
H2O. Give? Give what?
It gives sodium hydroxide, which is
chemical formula.
And the symbol is NaOH.
NaOH. Great. What is the valency of sodium? Valency of sodium is?
Miss, what's valency?
Valency, it is the number of electrons which gain or lost from the atoms during the chemical reaction. All elements in group 1, pay attention, all elements in group 1, it has the valency of 1. This means the valency of lithium, like sodium, like potassium, like cesium. Okay, all of these elements, because all of these elements is lying or locating in the group 1, the valency of this element is monovalent or equal 1. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Type NaOH, sodium hydroxide. Okay, plus
H2.
H2. Great. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. What happened? We say that the reaction between metals and water give metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas evolved. What happened when these elements react with steam? Steam means hot water. What happened? Some of metals that don't react with water may react with steam. Even magnesium will react more rapidly with steam than with water. This reaction show the reaction between magnesium. By the way, do you know the magnesium is located in group number?
Group number 2.
Group number 2. Great. يبقى the magnesium, when the magnesium react with the steam, it will lead to, or the magnesium oxide is produced and the hydrogen gas evolves. In general, when the metals react with water, or in some cases, if this reaction between cold water and the metal will react with the steam, in all cases will give metal oxide or metal hydroxide. They will give metal hydroxide plus hydrogen. But if you ask, miss, in this case, magnesium react with the steam and they give magnesium oxide only. This reaction, okay, will follow by other reaction to form magnesium hydroxide plus hydrogen. Okay, you understand?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What happens when the metals react with dilute acids? The acid has two concentrations, dilute and concentrated acid. What is the difference between both this concentration? Dilute means the concentration of this acid is added, is reduced or is changed into dilute concentration. يعني dilute مخفف، فاهماني؟ لكن concentrated ده مركز جدا جدا جدا. In general احنا برضو بنتكلم عن الرياكشن of metals in general. metal بلس بلس acid هيديني metal salt plus hydrogen. Metal salt plus hydrogen. يعني for example, when the magnesium react with hydrochloric acid, it will give magnesium chloride plus hydrogen. Magnesium chloride plus hydrogen. Okay. What happened when the sodium react with sulfuric acid? Can you complete this equation? Sodium plus, do you know the same chemical formula of sulfuric acid?
It's what? The
chemical formula of sulfuric acid.
Yeah, sulfate.
What? يعني أنا أكتب إيه؟
لا بس ما أعرفش السيمبل، لا. No.
H2SO4 sulfuric acid, but the sulfate group SO4 only. So that when we write the product of this reaction, what happened? What is the product of this? It will give me salt of what? Guess كده. Predict what is the product from this reaction when sodium react with sulfuric acid.
Sodium sulfate.
Great, excellent. Sodium sulfate, predict its formula. Na2SO4.
اوكي.
ليه انا عملت ليه 2 دي؟
بس هو كنت لسه هسأل كده.
ليه بقى؟ خلينا نقول، بصي انا عايزه اشرح الجزء ده لان ده مهم جدا جدا جدا، اللي هو how to write the chemical formula. احنا ازاي بنعرف نكتب الكيميكال formula for any chemical compound. At the first you should write the chemical name, not chemical formula. For example, sodium لا كليه كله كابيتال كده. صوديوم كلورايد. Sodium chloride. Number 2 or second step, write the symbol for each one of these elements. Sodium, the symbol of Na. Okay, and the chloride. What is the symbol of chloride? Jana.
No, Miss.
What is the symbol of chloride?
Miss لا مش عارفة.
Cl. Chloride. Chloride in this case is ion, but we say chlorine in case of atomic case, okay? The third step, write under each one of these symbol its valency. Each element in its group have the same number of valency like the number of its group. This means the sodium, its valency equal 1. Okay. Right. What about chlorine? Chlorine, its valency number 1. If you ask me, Miss, chlorine is located in group 7. This means valency equal 7. Okay. Right? هنقول هنا انه the valency of chlorine, the definition of valency is the number of electrons gained or lost by the atom to be more stable during the chemical reaction. لو فاكره جينا لما عملنا electronic configuration for chlorine قلنا Cl. okay, chlorine كانت 2 هو كان ب 17. okay, قلنا 2 8 7. okay, so that to be more stable, these electrons in outer shell need to gain 1 electron to be 8 or lose.
لا gain. This is Mary?
Yeah. What is your question?
No, Miss, no, Miss, nothing. Your voice was lost.
What do you say?
No, Miss, nothing. Your voice was lagging for a second, that's why.
Okay. Return to this example. When you write the chemical, the electronic configurations for chlorine, okay, you will write 2, 8, and 7. This atom during the chemical reaction to be more stable, okay, these 7 electrons to be more stable, it will gain 1 electron to convert into chlorine negative ion or chloride, and the structure of these ions become 2, 8, 8. Okay, so that we say the valency of chlorine is monovalent or 1. Why? Because this element during the chemical reaction gain 1 electron. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
The valency of group number 1, 1. The valency of elements in group 2 is 2. The valency of elements in group 3 equal 3. طيب, what's the valency of group number 4?
Miss, repeat again the examples.
What?
No, nothing.
The valency of group number 4. Okay, the group number 4 is a semiconductors, or we say that metalloids. This means these elements in group 4 have some properties of metals and other properties of non-metals. Okay, so that this is during the chemical reaction tend to share electrons to become more stable. And from group number 5 till group number 7, we return to repeat the valency. Like what? Number 5, group number 5, its valency equal 3, like group number 3. Elements in group number 6, like oxygen, okay, the valency is 2. Group number 7, valency equal 1, like this. Group 7 include the halogens, chlorine, fluorine, bromine, iodine. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. After we return to how to write the chemical formula. After we
Miss,
write the
Miss, I don't understand. Can you repeat the last part?
To write the chemical formula, okay? Number 1, write the name of this chemical compound. Then write the symbol of each element, like this: sodium Na, chloride Cl. And write the valency of H1, like this: sodium 1, chloride 1. Then make exchange and write the final chemical formula after exchange, like Na1 Cl1. We don't write these numbers when these numbers are equal. يعني لما تكون الارقام اللي تحت دي يا جنى واحده، يعني 1 1 2 2 كده، ما بكتبهاش، تبقى NaCl. هي دي الكيميكال فورمولا اوف صوديوم.
يعني ما نكتبش ال1 هي بس كده، صح؟
بس هي ده.
مش اوكي.
تمام، الحمد لله. نرجع ده. يبقى the reaction of metals with dilute acid will give salt of this acid plus hydrogen gas evolved. In the previous lesson, we discussed the chemical reactivity series. Do you memorize this reactivity series?
Yeah.
Okay, please mention these elements in order.
Miss, okay, but I might miss some because I had the revision with my teachers. I might miss some.
What is the last word? I can't hear you. Please repeat.
No, Miss, I'm saying I did not completely memorize them. Like I memorized like 75% of them, and I left some.
50%?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll revise that. The memorized is very, very, very important. This is the chemical reactivity series, which starts with potassium, zinc, sodium, lithium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, and after lead should write hydrogen, and after hydrogen, copper, silver, and gold. Okay? Okay.
Miss, I used the picture that you sent me on WhatsApp. Like I memorized the picture that you sent me on WhatsApp.
Both of them are the same, but the chemical reactivity in this picture without hydrogen, but the perfect one that we sent it to you in the previous lesson. Okay? Okay.
Okay.
This order is descending order of the elements according to its activity or reactivity. When I say reactivity series, means the activity of this element decrease by moving from up to down. So that this means the most reactive element can replace or displace the less reactive element. Or,
Miss, even in equations?
What?
In equations.
Equations like this. Okay, Jana?
Yes, Miss.
For example, for this, when the potassium react with hydrochloric acid, what's happened?
Miss, it becomes potassium hydroxide.
Potassium what? Hydroxide? Hydroxide? How come hydroxide? This is the acid. So potassium plus
potassium chloride, sorry. Miss, potassium chloride, sorry.
Pay attention. If this will give potassium
chloride.
Hydroxide, potassium chloride plus, plus what?
Plus hydrogen.
Hydrogen. Great. يبقى potassium plus hydrochloric acid give potassium chloride plus hydrogen. This means when the more reactive element react with hydrochloric acid, it will displace. Yeah, what's meant by displace? Or take its position, take the position of hydrogen in this acid and give salt, and hydrogen gas is evolved. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Another example. Okay. Can you write this equation in simple equation? Potassium, potassium, huh?
Miss, potassium K.
K plus hydrochloric acid.
Hydro H.
Yeah.
And then HCl.
Hydrochloric acid. Okay. Give.
And then
potassium chloride.
KCl.
KCl. Okay. Plus
H.
hydrogen H ولا H2.
ليه مش الفرق؟ Because this H2O is water.
No.
And then
hydrogen only. Hydrogen H2, because hydrogen is found in the form of diatomic molecule, H2. Okay?
Okay.
Another example. What happened when the sodium react with sulfuric acid? Write the word equation, reaction between sodium
sodium sulfate.
sodium sulfate plus ايه؟ بلس هيدروجين. احنا اصلا بنعمل
sodium sulfate plus hydrogen.
displacement، فهو take the position of hydrogen and get rid or remove this hydrogen. طيب what about the symbolic equation؟
Na. Miss, can I just write it down so it wouldn't be confusing for me?
I can't tell you what you want.
Miss, give me a second. I'll write it down on the paper, and so I can say it.
Okay.
Okay. Na plus.
Na. Na. And I say sodium plus sulfuric acid. What is the symbol of sulfuric acid?
HS the O4.
H2SO.
أيوة H2SO4.
H2SO4. Okay. It will go. What is the result? Sodium plus sulfuric acid.
Sodium sulfate.
طيب, do you know what is the chemical formula of sodium sulfate?
Yeah, Miss, you said it. Na. 2SO4.
Great, excellent. SO4. Great. Plus
H2.
H2. Great, excellent. This means the more reactive element displace the less reactive elements. Okay.
Okay.
What is the word equation between the reaction of copper plus hydrochloric acid?
Just a second. Copper. Copper chloride. Copper plus chloride. Hydrochloric acid produces copper chloride.
Unfortunately, this is wrong answer. Make your think. We said in the previous lesson, in the chemical reactivity series, all elements under or after hydrogen in this reactivity series can't displace hydrogen in acids. Do you remember that? When I say when the copper reacts with any acid, no reaction. قلنا ده ولا لا المرة اللي فاتت؟ شفت ازاي؟ شفتي؟ يبقى Cu copper, okay? Cu plus hydrochloric acid HCl complete? No reaction. No reaction. يبقى when the copper, platinum, gold, all of these three elements, the examiner asks you to complete the equation when all of these three elements which locate under the hydrogen in chemical reactivity series to react with is any acids, the result is no reaction. Why? If the examiner asks you to explain your answer, you will respond or answer with because all of these elements like copper or platinum or gold are less active element than hydrogen. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Now we will study the behavior of different elements during the chemical reaction according to its reactivity when they react with water or acids and see the results of this reaction. By the way, this reaction, which is the reaction of elements with oxygen, reaction with water, and reaction with dilute acids, very, very, very important reactions because in section of chemistry and the science test include different equations which ask about this reaction. So examine, you know, the reactivity of these elements or not. Start with potassium and sodium. When potassium or sodium react with oxygen, they burn brightly when heated to form oxide. Okay. In general, when the metal react with oxygen, the oxide is formed. Okay. From a few minutes, we discussed the reaction between potassium and sodium with water. Do you remember that? We said this reaction between this element is very vigorous reaction in cold water. And what the result? The result is hydroxide of these metals is formed. When potassium or sodium react with water, okay, the reaction is very vigorous, okay, and the result is potassium hydroxide, and the hydrogen gas is evolved. Like when the sodium react with water, the sodium hydroxide is formed and the hydrogen gas is evolved. Do you understand that?
Yes.
What happened when these elements react with dilute acids? When the elements, don't forget this point, when the elements in group 1, like potassium or sodium, react with dilute, dilute, not concentrated, but dilute مخفف, acid مخفف. This reaction is violent reaction and very dangerous. Violent reaction and very dangerous. This will lead to explosion of the beaker. Do you imagine the dangerous of this reaction? Oh, imagine. Okay. So, what about the reaction of elements in group 2 with oxygen, water, and acid? When they react with oxygen, okay, they burn brightly in the air when heated to form an oxide. Okay, the same in group 1. Both of them, when they react with oxygen, give metal oxide. What happens when the elements in group 2 react with water? This is the slow reaction in cold water. So that if you need to this reaction, reaction between elements in group 2 with water, you should heat the water to the reaction occur between the metal and steam. To form what? To form hydroxide. Do you understand, Jana?
Miss, a little, can you repeat again?
Repeat this point.
Yeah.
Okay. When we talk about the metals in group 1, we say the reaction of this metal and water, the reaction is vigorous reaction with cold water and hydroxide is formed. Okay? But when we make a comparison between the reaction of group 2 with water, we say this is the slow reaction in cold water. So that we need to heat the water to this reaction take place. يعني معناها ان انا علشان الاليمنتس ان في جروب 2 يحصل لها رياكشن مع الووتر لازم اعمل عمليه هيتنج. يعني رياكشن between metal in group 2 occurred with the steam not with cold water. التفاعل بيتم بين اللي هي الاليمنتس في جروب 2 تمام وبين الاليمنت وبين الستيم يعني بين بخار الميه الساخنه. فهماني؟ شفت الفرق قد ايه في الرياكتيفيتي بتوين اللي هو reaction with water between group 1 و group 2. Great. حلوة. تمام. طيب. The reaction of calcium with acid is violent reaction and very dangerous. طيب what about the reaction between magnesium and the dilute acid? شوفي قال ايه؟ بيقول لي the reaction which become less vigorous as we go down the list. يعني بيقول لي starting from magnesium passing by aluminium zinc iron lead كل دولت في الرياكشن بتاعهم بقى مع الديليوت اسيد بيكون هنا ايه؟ بيكون less vigorous. يعني كأن شدة الانفجار او شدة التفاعل بتقل بداية من الكالسيوم وبتقل اكتر في مع المغنيسيوم بتبدأ تقل من المغنيسيوم مرورا بالالومنيوم والزنك والايرن. كل ما بننزل هنا go down the reaction become هنا ايه؟ less vigorous. تمام كده؟ عظيم. طيب what happened when the aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, all of these metal react with oxygen? Slow reaction when they heated to form an oxide. If you look to the reaction with oxygen and make a comparison between the reactivity of these metals in the reactivity series, starting from potassium and reach to the lead, okay, you will observe the strength of this reaction will decrease. Do you observe that? Right, جميل جدا. When the aluminium and zinc and iron and lead react with water, they don't react with cold water, but they react with steam to form what? To form metal hydroxide. You understand that? Okay. But lead, especially lead elements, no reaction with the steam or water. يعني no reaction with steam or with water, cold water. Don't forget this. This is very, very important. Because if the examiner gave you different equations and ask you to complete what happened after this reaction, some reaction will not happen, like the reaction between lead and water and the reaction between all of elements under the hydrogen, like sodium, like copper, platinum and gold. No reaction with acids. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Any problem in this
no,
point?
No.
reaction between these three elements, which are less in its reactivity than all elements after before the hydrogen in reactivity series. All these three elements, copper, silver, and gold, no reaction with oxygen, no reaction with oxygen. So that we wear the jewelries made of the gold. Why? Because gold is unreactive element. In this case, it is very, very, very advantage of this metal. Why? Because the layer of oxides is dull. And we need gold to be brightly all the time. So that's the jewelry is made of the gold or silver because they are unreactive elements. This means no reaction with oxygen. This means no layer of oxide form or cover the metal surface. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Great, great. And what about the reaction of copper, silver, and gold with acids? What happened, ya Jana? When copper or silver or gold react with sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid or nitric acid?
Yes, they have no reaction.
What? What do you
Yes,
say?
they have no reaction. Yes, they have no reaction.
No reaction?
Yeah.
جانا بليز ممكن تفتحي الكاميرا؟ اهلا يا وحشتينا. ايه يا ستي كنت قاعده ليه في قافلاها ليه من ساعتها؟ Okay. We discussed this displacement reaction during this session and before in the previous lesson, okay? Today, we will conclude this result of this reaction between different element in chemical reactivity series with the acids and the displacement between the more reactive elements and the less reactive elements. For example, when the copper sulfate react with iron, what happens? The copper sulfate is a chemical compound. Iron is single element. When these elements, do you know at the first, do you know the difference between elements and the compound?
It's the no.
No or not?
يعني مش عارفاها بس مش فاكرة.
As you understand, when I say element, means this element consists of one type of atom or different type?
Different type of atom.
Element. When I say element like iron, sulfur, oxygen. When I say element, I mean this element is made of one type of atom. Means when I say the copper metal, this means all of this metal made up of copper atoms. كلها نفس النوع, the same type, هو one type كمان, one type, okay? When I discuss or try to explain the concept of compound, okay? The first point is when I say, for example, copper sulfate. when I say copper sulfate, خلينا نقولها كده copper sulfate. Copper sulfate. The chemical formula for this compound is CuSO4. CuSO4. When you look at to this chemical formula اللي هي السيمبل بتاعه يعني او الرمز الكيميائي بتاعه بيقول هنا ايه؟ CuSO4. If I ask you about, please tell me how many elements in this compound? How many elements in this compound? Copper sulfate. Look at to the chemical formula and the mention.
4.
4? 4 or 3? Cu, this is the symbol of one element, copper, Cu. Okay? يبقى عندي هنا copper, sulfur اللي هو S and oxygen.
3.
Oh, يبقى 3 elements. Okay? يبقى the compound, it is the chemical substance which is consist of 2 or more of elements combined to each other. يعني الفرق بين الاثنين between elements. يعني أنا أقدر أقول إنه copper sulfate is compound, and this compound consists of 3 types of elements: copper, sulfur, and oxygen. Okay, each one of these elements, each one like مثلا copper or sulfur or oxygen, consists of one type of atoms. الكبر كله كبر، الاكسجين كلهم كبر اتومز، وهكذا. تمام؟ يبقى ده كده the first difference between elements and compound. Okay? طيب, if I ask you another questions about this compound, and please tell me how many atoms in this compound. How many atoms in this compound? CuSO4. أنا عايزة أعرف بقى عدد الأتومز هنا قد إيه؟
بس 4.
ده كده يعني هنا حليتيها فرانكلي كده، يلا 4 ولا ده are you sure from this number؟
No.
Try to calculate this number of atoms. I have 1 atom of copper elements, Cu, 1 atom, and 1 atom of sulfur, okay, and the 4 atoms of oxygen. Make summation of these atoms, you will obtain 6 atoms of different elements. 6 atoms, 4 oxygen, 1 sulfur, and 1 copper. Write this example.
Miss, but how do you find out the sulfur?
How to find the what?
How do you find the
number of atoms?
أيوة.
بصي شوفي جنى. Type في فرق. There is a difference between types of elements or types of atom, تمام؟ and the number of atoms. ازاي يا مس؟ بصي كده. See, أما أجي أسألك هنا what is the kind or what is the types of elements in this chemical compound, you will mention three elements or 3 types of metals, 3 types of elements. ايه هم ال 3 types؟ عندي copper، عندي sulfur، عندي oxygen. ده بس كده just اللي هم names of element in this compound. اوكي؟ فانت بتقولي لي ان الكبر سلفيت فيه copper, sulfur and oxygen. Okay? But when I ask you to find the number of atoms, calculate. Okay? Calculate the number of elements اللي هي بيبقى الرقم اللي بيبقى جنب كل element منهم. عندي الكبر في عندي ارقام جنبها؟
لا.
يبقى
بس انا نسيت النقطة دي، خلاص فهمت خلاص.
يا سلام يا سلام يا سلام.
مش عشان انا افتكرت لما انت قلتي لي مثلا سي يو بيبقى عندها مثلا 1 اتوم فبنحطها تحت، ولو هي 1 اتوم بس مش لازم نكتبها هي سي يو كده لوحدها. خلاص افتكرت، خلاص فهمت.
طب ناخد
بس
كده.
خلاص فهمت.
ماشي اوكي. طيب I will give you example and ask you to find chemical compound like aluminum carbonate. Aluminum carbonate. Can you write this chemical formula? Aluminum carbonate.
ألمنيوم. بس بس كتبتيها اوكي سوري. okay.
I say aluminum carbonate. The chemical symbol of aluminum Al and the symbolic formula of carbonate CO3. Okay, but the valency
بس
of
3 دي بتاعت ايه طيب؟
ما لسه هقول لك بقى، في 3 جوه وفي 3 بره. CO3 اللي هي between brackets دي الفورمولا of carbonate group، carbonate atomic group CO3. صح كده؟ Do you know that؟
لا بس مش فاهمة ليه في 3 بره، مش فاهمة.
احنا لما نيجي نكتب، بصي لما نيجي نكتب هنا عايزين نكتب ألمونيوم كربونات، تمام؟ الألمونيوم السيمبل بتاعه Al، تمام؟ طب الكربونات السيمبل بتاعها ايه؟ CO3. اوكي؟ طيب الفالنسي اوف ألمونيوم، فالنسي اوف ألمونيوم 3. طيب والفالنسي اوف كربونات 2. وات هابن بعد كده؟ نعمل اكستشينج للفالنسي، ده ياخد ده وده ياخد ده، فنكتبها ازاي؟ نكتبها Al الفالنسي بتاع الكربونات 2 يبقى Al2 and CO3 دي اللي هي اصلا الكربونات الكيميكال فورمولا بتاعت الكربونات. طب خدت الفالنسي بتاع الالومنيوم اللي هو ب 3 يبقى باي 3. وصلت؟
بس انا مش فاهمة ليه انت عملتي سويتش ليه للنمبرز.
This is the method to write the chemical formula for any compound. دي الستبس ان احنا لازم يعني الاول نكتب كده chemical formula for HA radical، وبعدين then write after each one its valency، وبعدين the third step make exchange between the valency of each one and write the final chemical formula. Okay? Okay. in this case the reaction between copper sulfate and iron, which one, copper or iron, is more reactive than other? I ask you, which one is more reactive than other? Copper or iron? According to the chemical reactivity series, and because it is the reference to make any displacement reaction. According to the chemical reactivity series, iron is located
iron, yes, iron.
Locates before the hydrogen and before the copper. So that iron is more reactive than copper. So that when the more reactive element react with chemical compounds, and this chemical compound contain metal less in its reactivity than this metal, what happened? The displacement reaction will occur. How? By displace or replace this less active metal from this compound and take its place. يعني ايه الكلام ده؟ When the iron react with copper sulfate, iron is more reactive than copper, so that it will displace its position. Means the result is iron sulfate, and the copper is ايه؟ precipitate او deposit. هيترسب، هينزل كده خلاص. تمام؟ طب لو كان العكس ازاي؟ اديكي مثلا اكزامبل تاني. لو انا قلت لك iron sulfate plus copper, what happened؟
لسه ما فهمتش الاكسبلانيشن أوي يعني
اكتب؟
مش فاهمة.
مش فاهمه؟
لا مش فاهمة، ممكن تعيدي الاكسبلانيشن؟ ضعت في النص.
شفت الايكويشن اللي انا كاتباها دي؟ اللي موجوده دي انت شايفاها؟
لا.
اللي هي كبر سلفيت بعد اول باراجراف في البيج.
ايوه شفتها. ايوه
كبر سلفيت بلس ايرن هتديني ايرن سلفيت بلس كبر. ليه؟ ايه اللي حصل؟ ده ايه سببه؟ اكسبلين يعني.
This copper sulfate you reacted it with iron, it produced iron sulfate.
طيب this chemical reaction behave in this way because iron is more reactive than copper, right?
أيوة.
Great. أنا بسألك what happened if we replace this reaction by what? When I write
iron sulfate plus copper.
what happened?
بس
الحمد لله.
بس عادي تكتبيها أحسن. sulfate plus copper. بس هتبقى iron sulfate plus copper، هتبقى copper sulfate plus iron.
يعني انت خلينا نكتب اللي انت قلتيها. بتقولي هنا iron sulfate plus copper will give copper sulfate plus iron. You mean that?
Yeah.
Okay. But according to the chemical reactivity series, this equation is wrong.
No reaction.
يا
Miss
ربي
no
اعمل فيها
reaction.
ايه، اعمل فيها ايه؟ طب انا يعني اعمل
Miss
فيكي ايه
the
بقى
answer is no
دلوقتي؟
reaction. Miss no
اه
reaction.
شفت ازاي؟
بس
يبقى
أنا كل
this.
شوية أنسى.
لا بصي شوفي يا جنى، any chemical reaction ها before complete this equation، تمام؟ لان في الاكزام for sure هتاخدي هنا equation ويجي يقول لك complete او يقول لك what happened، يعني اي ده. هنا look at to the reactants. okay like this
أيوة
iron
بس
sulfate
أنا كل
plus
شوية
copper.
أنسى اللي هو السكيل.
لا ما كل شويه ننسى، ينفع الكلام ده؟
لا بس وكمان بنسى اللي هي حتة اللي هي النو رياكشن دي
ازاي بقى ده كلام؟ no اكتبيها عندك reaction. no reaction. okay but when the iron react with copper sulfate, the result is ها
iron reacts
لا بقول when
مساوي.
the، يعني نكتب equation تانية نقول هنا when the iron react with copper copper ايه المكتوبة دي كده CO copper sulfate ها complete this equation.
لسه copper sulfate plus iron.
هيديني كبر سلفيت برضو بلس ايرن، يعني هو نفس الرياكتنت.
خلاص بس no reaction sorry.
نو رياكشن، ايرن بلس كبر سلفيت. جنى بصي يا ماما، بصي يا حبيبتي، في فرق بين الفيرست ايكويجن والسكند ايكويجن. الفيرست ايكويجن كانت الايرن سلفيت والكبر هو اللي معاها، الكبر هو ليس رياكتيف ذان ايرن، يبقى ما يقدرش يطلعه، تمام؟ لكن in second equation ها iron is more reactive than copper، يبقى it can displace the copper from its salts. يعني عارفه اللي هو ايه، حد قوي، عارفه اما اجي اقول لك مثلا ايه، حد كده مثلا ايه عامل بسيط قاعد كده، ويجي حد وزير معدي على في المكان، فيحصل ايه، يقوم العامل البسيط قايم كده على طول عشان يحيي الايه الوزير. هو ده بالظبط كده المور رياكتيف، more reactive element ها هو بس only can displace the less reactive element from its salts. You understand?
اه
يبقى in this equation what is the result؟ هنقول له هنا iron sulfate iron sulfate plus copper. okay write these two equations and make the comparison between the result from each one. okay so that you have to memorize the order of elements in chemical reactivity series to can answer any of this reaction. okay okay finish.
اه
okay بسم الله. Using of displacement reaction. This is different example of this displacement reaction or live application of displacement reaction. For example, when the aluminium react with iron oxide, what happened? According to the reactivity series, the aluminium is more reactive than iron, so that aluminium can displace the iron from its salt or its oxide, so that the result of this reaction will be aluminium oxide plus iron. Okay? This reaction, by the way, is used in welding process. Welding اللي هي عمليات اللحام زي ما شايفه كده في الايه في البيكتشر دي. welding railway بيعملوا عمليه ويلدنج او لحام اللي هي القضبان السكك الحديديه using an exothermic reaction. This reaction between aluminium and iron oxide is called a thermite reaction. And the other example of the displacement reaction or displacement reaction in our daily life application, the extraction means استخراج أو استخلاص, extractions of iron from its ore. Do you know what is meant by the ore? Ore.
The what? The ore?
Ore is the mixture or the rocks mixed with the metal. Okay, and this metal not found in the pure form, but is found in maybe oxide form. يعني الحديد لما بييجوا يطلعوه من الأور بتاعه اللي هو طبعا هي rocks. شو بيقول ايه؟ An ore is a rock that contain metal compound. هي عبارة عن حجارة أو صخور، أيوة صخور تحتوي على الكومباوند يحتوي على الميتال ده. فاحنا بنعمله عمليه extract and purification. بنستخلصه من اللي هي الروكس دي وبنعملها purification، يعني بننقيه علشان to obtain a pure iron element. Okay, you understand?
Yeah.
In this process we use type of some furnace called blast furnace. blast furnace ده اسم الافران، اسمها كده افران الحديد. تمام. We use that to extract the iron from its ore. Okay. The main equation which describes this process is iron oxide. This is the ore of the where we extract the iron. يبقى iron oxide plus carbon give iron plus carbon dioxide. يبقى to understand what happened in this furnace, okay, in this process we use the ore of the iron, which is iron oxide, and they make the reaction between copper and the iron oxide to obtain pure iron and carbon oxide. When you look at this equation, you conclude that which one is more reactive than other, iron or carbon?
Miss iron. No,
Iron more reactive than copper?
No,
than
Miss
carbon?
Carbon.
But why do you say carbon?
Miss عشان because I looked at the most reactive scale.
Because carbon can displace iron from its oxide. Okay, يبقى we say that when the iron oxide.
The word oxide comes from carbon dioxide, right?
Carbon dioxide formed when the iron is displaced and the carbon combined with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Okay, يبقى according to this equation describe the reaction between a more active element with less reactive compound, so that the more reactive element displace this less reactive element in its compound. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, miss.
Try to answer this question. بيقول لي the word equation below represents some displacement reaction. Aluminium plus copper sulfate give aluminium sulfate plus copper. Number 2, aluminium plus lead nitrate give aluminium nitrate plus lead. And the third equation, lead plus copper sulfate give lead sulfate plus copper. And the lead plus silver nitrate give lead nitrate plus silver. Question 1. Use the word equation to decide which of these four metals, aluminium, copper, lead, or silver, is the most reactive. Make your think and give me the answer. Which one is most reactive? Jana, do you understand the question?
Yeah, miss, I understand. I got the
Okay.
answer already.
Okay.
Miss, the first one, aluminium plus copper sulfate produces aluminium sulfate plus copper.
Do you understand what is meant by most reactive? Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at the first,
aluminium. Yes, aluminium, because it can displace the copper.
Copper and lead. Okay.
Yeah. It can displace copper and lead.
Excellent. By making a comparison between these three equations, you can conclude aluminum is most reactive element because it displaces copper and the lead, okay? And the lead displaces silver, so that aluminum is most reactive element. Great. B, decide if the reaction will take place when lead is placed in the solution of magnesium sulfate. If you think there will be a reaction, write the word equation for it.
No, miss, the answer would be no reaction.
What do you say?
Miss, there would be no reaction because magnesium is more reactant.
More reactive than?
More reactant than lead. So there will be no solution.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. ما شاء الله. كده بدأنا خلاص كده ندخل تمام ونفهم مظبوط كده. تمام. C. Decide if the reaction will take place when the iron is placed in a solution of lead nitrate.
Yeah, miss, it will take because iron is more reactive than lead. So decide if a reaction will take place when iron. Yeah, miss, there will be. So I'll write the word equation.
What happened?
Miss,
Raise your voice, please.
there can be a reaction.
The reaction will take place, okay?
Yes.
طيب, write or mention the chemical equation, word equation. Iron plus lead nitrate. It will give?
Miss, iron plus lead nitrate.
Yeah.
Iron nitrate.
Yeah.
Plus lead.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. شفتي? Very easy. Very easy. The secret key to solve any chemical reaction. Number one, memorize the chemical reactivity series. Number two, write the correct chemical formula. Okay. Question 4. The following reaction show 4 reaction. Carbon plus oxygen give carbon dioxide. Iron sulfate plus zinc give zinc sulfate plus iron. Sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid give sodium chloride plus water. What is the name of this reaction? Sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid give sodium chloride plus water. We take this reaction in the previous lesson.
Just repeat your question.
The reaction between acid and alkali to give salt plus water. What is the name of this reaction? Displacement reaction or neutralization reaction or oxidation reaction. Neutralization reaction. Don't forget that when acid react with alkali, the acid in this equation hydrochloric acid, and the alkali is sodium hydroxide. When acid react with hydroxide or alkali solution, the result is salt plus water. Salt like sodium chloride and water. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. And the fourth equation is magnesium plus oxygen give magnesium oxide. Magnesium oxide. Give letters A, B, C, or D of the reaction that is. Shati? First question, neutralization reaction. Which one?
C.
What?
C.
C, great. Number 2 or second, displacement reaction. Displacement reaction.
C.
Displacement reaction.
Miss B.
B, of course, B, of course. Iron sulfate plus zinc. What happened? Zinc is more reactive than iron. So that
Miss, what's that? Miss, what's the
What?
difference between displacement reaction and neutralization reaction? Or is it the
Neutralization.
same thing?
Okay. Neutralization reaction mainly reaction between acid and alkali or acid and base. يعني acids like hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, any type of acid. When it reacts with base or alkali, base or alkali, any metal combined with hydroxide group like NOH, KOH, Al2OH3, all of these compounds are alkali. Why? Because it contains OH functional group. OH. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, يبقى the reaction between acid and alkali, this is the neutralization reaction. Like, what is the result of this reaction? The result is salt plus water. For example, when the sodium hydroxide react with, like in this equation, react with hydrochloric acid, the result is sodium chloride plus water. Another example, potassium hydroxide plus sulfuric acid. It will give potassium sulfate plus water. Okay. The third example, nitric acid plus sodium hydroxide. It will give sodium nitrate plus water. Okay, you understand?
Yeah.
But displacement reaction, active metal replace or displace less reactive metal in its salts or its oxide. Like all of examples we illustrated in our session today. Okay.
Okay.
You should study these topics from your book. You should study and memorize by written equation. Okay, and today inshallah I will send you different example of past paper to try to answer as a homework. Okay. Number 3, a reaction in which metal oxide is formed. D. Great. B, بيقول لي what does the reaction in equation B tell you about the reactivity of two metals involved?
What does the reaction in equation B tell you about the reactivity of two metals involved?
Question B.
What does the reaction in
equation B اللي هي بيقول لي iron sulfate plus zinc give zinc sulfate plus iron. Which one is most reactive than other? Which one is more
zinc.
reactive? Huh? Zinc is?
Zinc. That's why
zinc what?
That's why zinc
Huh?
that's why zinc displaced iron.
Okay.
Because it's more reactive.
Tell me about the reactivity of zinc and compare it with the iron. Which one is more reactive than other?
Zinc is more reactive than iron.
But excellent. Okay. Question C. What the magnesium or zinc metal are placed into dilute hydrochloric acid, bubbles of gas are given off. Can you mention this equation which describes the reaction of zinc plus hydrochloric acid and the magnesium plus hydrochloric acid? Tell me. Zinc plus hydrochloric acid.
Miss, is it zinc chloride? Zinc chloride.
يا ربنا سبحان الله. Zinc chloride, excellent. Zinc chloride
Plus
plus
hydrogen. Hydrogen.
Great. Hydrogen. Okay, great. طيب, what about the reaction between magnesium plus hydrochloric acid? Can you write the simple equation? Magnesium, symbol of magnesium? Mg. Great. Plus hydrochloric acid? Symbol of hydrochloric acid, what? Hydrochloric.
HCl.
Hydrochloric.
HCl. HCl.
HCl. Great. والجاب?
Zinc. Zinc is Zn.
What?
Zn, miss. Miss, no, sorry. Sorry. Magnesium plus hydrochloric acid. Magnesium chloride.
Yes. Magnesium chloride, its chemical formula is?
MgCl.
MgCl? Magnesium divalent, or its valency 2, and chlorine monovalent. When you write magnesium chloride, you will make exchange so that you will should write Mg2Cl. Okay?
Okay.
Mg2Cl plus
hydrogen H.
H only?
H2. Sorry.
H2. Okay. Very simple. Now you understand all points we discussed that in our session today?
Yes.
But you need to study well this topic from your book and try to answer variant questions about the reactivity series and the chemical reaction and the questions about the trend in group 1. Okay? When you solve different exercise and more exercise, you will earn or gain excellent experience to answer any question. Okay? Inshallah, I will send you today different questions from the past paper to try to examine your understanding and solve that. Okay?
Okay.
Do you need anything?
No, thank you.
Thank you, and see you later, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.